On that point, I think there's an interesting thing you brought up there, the value of the community part of the campus experience. And we're going to get to kind of your use of Twitter now, but I feel like there's a big parallel here in terms of saying, well, can we replicate that in a virtual environment so that it's benefits from the diversity, the global reach, all the things that come with the internet. What parallels are you seen in your use of Twitter and the campus experience that you had at Stanford?
Yeah, it's a great question. And look, we've had to, over the course of the last year, because of COVID, develop virtual communities. And virtual communities have probably had a 10-year accelerating event as a result of us all being stuck in our houses. But I think it's been a big wake-up call to a lot of people that you can build and create and maintain and foster meaningful relationships with new people in a totally virtual setting. I mean, I have 10, 15, 20 friends probably that I consider close friends now that I have never met in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems ludicrous. Like a year ago, if I had said that to you, you would have looked at me with crazy eyes, like, who is this guy? Right. But in this world, it feels normal. And it's people that I met through Twitter, Twitter and these social networks and even video games now. I mean, it allows you to meet amazing people at scale. And there's an incredible power in that if you leverage it. It's why I have my DMs open as an example. I love some of the random messages I get and connect with people all around the world. It's just an incredible, incredible tool and resource. And it's been a powerful thing in my life.
Yeah. I mean, it's how this podcast is happening. I reached out to you in a Twitter DM. You're 100% right. You were very open to it. And we jumped on and here we are.
I try to respond to most DMs, by the way. I don't always get to them, and people that send me mean DMs generally don't get responses, and I get those from time to time. But I do. I mean, I have kids, and it was the original reason I got onto Twitter, and the original reason I was spending time on these threads was to educate and to help people. And so when I get a message from a kid in India that's just starting his studies and is looking for advice on things, I think that's freaking amazing. Like that's the coolest thing in the world to me, that I can somehow be putting things out that reach someone all the way across the world, and that I can be even a tiny bit of help or a tiny bit of inspiration around these things. I think it's amazing. And I will always, no matter how big my account gets, I'll always endeavor to do that.
Yeah, it's not easy. I am feeling it now. And I can only imagine what the state of your DMs must look like. But just recently, I met in person 5 people that I would consider the same as good friends that I've known for about a year now on Twitter. We met in person in New York, and one of them published that on Twitter, posted a photo of it, and it just tapped into the zeitgeist. Like it was so it just, everyone picked up on it. It was like, people were like, oh, if we only had a podcast mic in the middle of that table, like things like that. Just, I think this is capturing the imagination for a lot of people, like what the next step is when these relationships can now be like consummated in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have this group of friends who we originally kind of came together in a text thread it was kind of like up and coming Twitter accounts, I guess, sharing ideas on what was working, what wasn't working, etc. And it's become like a close knit group of friends bouncing around business ideas, totally separate and apart from Twitter. But it's a powerful little community, like a tiny little niche community of really interesting, smart people that I never would have met otherwise. Yeah. And I fully expect that we will all be able to get together in 2021 and share some good times together and probably a few drinks. But it's a crazy world, and it's an amazing world right now.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, our world of Twitter is just a tiny portion of the population. Like that's another like mind-blowing thing to think where this could go eventually when everyone kind of comes on board with this.